The Stock of the Day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. With over 17,000 markets and extended trading hours, turn US earnings season volatility into opportunity. Get started at IG.com.
And our stock of the day on this Tuesday morning is Praemium. Of course, we've heard from Net Wealth, we heard from Hub24 over the past couple of weeks. So this is just completing the circle, that trifecta of these platforms. So Praemium, this is on the back of it reporting total funds under administration, which rose 12% as of the end of June to $64.3 billion. Spectrum achieved quarterly net inflows of $339 million, resulting in $2.4 billion for the quarter, including the transition of $1.5 billion in assets from OneView. Quarterly net inflows excluding OneView came in at $152 million, down from the March quarter inflow of $494 million. And I dare say that's why we've seen the share price retreat, down by more than 9% today. So positives are that we're starting to see funds under administration accelerating, but negatives were those outflows and elevated outflows from transition power wrap advisors as well. So Praemium, is this a disappointment to you?
Yeah, a little bit, because they've been working very hard on bringing those new products to market. So they're sitting in a niche area where they're targeting those non-custodial assets and giving investors that want to use these wrap platforms like your Net Wealth and your Hub the ability to have a little bit more flexibility with their investments and tracking all of that. You look at the performance of Net Wealth and Hub, they've done extremely well. They're at an $8 billion market cap, whereas Praemium is at 370. So it's definitely a lot smaller in size, but what it's doing is picking up market share, just like Net Wealth and Hub24 are. But where it's picking up market share is from some of those older, more traditional sort of platforms that aren't focusing on that area. So your Insignia Wealth, for example, which has some takeover offers, so I'm not sure what will happen there. But it's an area that they're looking to really expand on in that niche area as they come out with these new products. So I'd expect the return on investment to come from those new products, but it's just, it hasn't come immediately, and it's not expected to either. So I actually think this is a good opportunity to start accumulating shares, either here or a little bit cheaper as well.
Okay, so that's a buy for our stock of the day, Praemium. Hub24, Net Wealth have done so well, but we often talk about them in threes, and that Praemium could be a takeover target, that we could see some consolidation. So, is this a good opportunity?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised in terms of the market reaction to the announcement. I mean, overall, their funds under management is still, administration is still growing. But I think it's obviously against expectation to what people are looking for, the investors are looking for. But really what we're seeing here is a mixed story, because essentially they've launched a new Spectrum platform. And what the goal of that is, I think the whole industry is moving towards something where it's more customer focused, delivering a platform that's an overall solution. Whereas at the moment, there's a lot of disjointedness where you're getting your holdings, seeing this aspect of it, private assets here and there. So the goal is just basically tie it all into one integrated platform where the end user has a very smooth experience. And I think that's what they're trying to achieve with Spectrum. They did acquire PowerWrap, I think it was in 2020. And I think that was more a legacy platform, and they were acquiring it for the book as opposed to the technology behind it. So what we're seeing is big outflows from PowerWrap and also OneView, their legacy platforms, and going into Spectrum. So that's why you're seeing a massive inflow into that new segment that they're creating. I think it's good going forward, and it's kind of aligning with what Hub and Net Wealth are trying to do, right? They're all building platforms for the users, and this is what they're realizing, right? There's a lot more people these days who want self-directed or want to take control of their own investments. And that's a huge market. So, being able to capture that, I think it's the right strategic goal. But, obviously the short term, I think investors were looking for a bit more, and they were a little bit disappointed by the amount of inflows. And they do sometimes tend to disappoint in earnings. So it could also be a factor where leading into earnings, people were expecting a lot more, and I think they just kind of pulled their expectations back down. But I think in the long run, it's fairly cheap. The industry is growing, superannuation is growing by default. So I think it's a massive space, and they are on the Spectrum platform. I think is on the right trajectory, and they're targeting high net wealth specifically. So I think it's a good goal, and it's probably an opportunity as opposed to a bad result.
So we're calling it a buy.
Yeah.
We've got a double buy for our stock of the day, being Praemium. A huge thanks to Josh Barker from RiverX and Kai Chen from MPC Markets.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Turn volatility into opportunity this US earnings season with extended trading hours on over 110 key US shares. Get started at IG.com.